Hello, everyone, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark,
And I'm Rob.
and today we're going to talk about the fact that the WNBA plays a slow, methodical game that's very physical, and why that is, and will it change in the future? So, hey, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that notification bell when you do. So, Rob, the WNBA, I haven't watched a lot of it throughout the years. I've watched a little bit, and then I stopped in 2016 when they wouldn't put Candace Parker on the Olympic team. I boycotted them. I said, that's too much politics for me. I only watched a little before that. But it was always kind of like a slow game, not fast paced. And it's not like, the men were playing slow paced until the Lakers in the 80s. So they've been playing up tempo more often, not all the teams since then. But the women never changed. They still play the slow tempo game. And the question is, why? And the second question is, will it change with the advent of people like Caitlin Clark?
Well, I think eventually it's going to change. Like I said, I've been watching some of the under 17 and under 16 games overseas, and those teams tended to press and run up down the court a little bit more. So hopefully with the new youth coming in, it'll change. But like I said, I coach women's basketball, and it's just a different game. It's more of a ground game. They don't really have, you can set a back pick and the girl go up to the lob a pass up to her, and she can almost tip it into the basket. So I had to really adjust from coaching from boys and men's basketball to women's to like a more ground game. It is a grinded out, but I still did fast break. I forgot the rebound. That's the one thing advantage. You can fast break and get the ball and get easy baskets in the women's game, but when it gets to that half court, that's what I think really turns some people off a lot.
Well, you got to catch the ball first. Also, you have to make the layup. But
Right.
I also watched some videos of some younger, like girls, like 10, 12 years old and playing with boys and stuff like that. But anyways, that was fast paced. They were up tempo. So I think the future is coming for the players if the league allows it. Now, I don't know if they can't stop Indiana if they want to play that way, as long as they have some depth on their team and they're able to do it for 40 minutes because they tend to get tired. But I think it's boring in the prison ball, and that's why it's so physical down below. Is one of the reasons it's so physical down below is because they don't have the talent and they don't have the jumping ability,
Right.
That men do. And I can understand what you're saying about ground game, because if you're up tempo, one of the most effective plays is the alley-oop, and that doesn't exist in women's games.
Right.
So the up tempo. So the up tempo game is less effective in the sense that you've taken away one play.
Yeah, like you see in the men's game, you could spread the floor out. If they're playing man to man, you could spread the floor out, set a back screen, or like I said, alley oop, or just driving to the basket, and then their leaping ability for the male go up and dunk it. A little more exciting, But unfortunately, the women's game, they could do it. I mean, I would love to do that. I would just get some players on my team, all 10 of them, and boy, the drills would be running drills. They would be in shape. There'd be a lot of running. Right. So when we just rotate them out, another 5 come in, do the same thing.
Yeah, I think the up tempo also opens up for more dunk possibilities too, and that's why that's kind of a second way that the women are never going to have that in their game. But guess what? If you beat your person down the court, you beat your woman down the court, it doesn't matter about alley-oop or dunk. You should be able to hit that layup, and that's what Caitlin Clark does, and they get some easy baskets that way. And I think the league is seeing that, and other people are going to try to do that. So the question is, why are they opposed to doing up tempo? Why did not some people do it or not some teams do it? So there's a theory that I heard that UConn and South Carolina play that type of game at the college level, Gino and Dawn Staley, and they're very successful. And to a lesser extent, Tennessee, who are not as successful now as they used to be, but they've also had a lot of players come into the league. And they were influenced by those coaches and that style of play, and they brought it into the WNBA, and that's why they play that way. But what confuses me is, since they have the best athletes, they tend to be a little bit quicker. I know they're taller, but why wouldn't they want to play up-tempo basketball? Because if you have better athletes, you're going to have the advantage in up-tempo basketball. So I'm confused why UConn and South Carolina, Tennessee, even LSU want to play that type of basketball when I think it'd be even more of advantage to them to play some up-tempo basketball and then bring it into the WNBA. That's what I'm confused about, why that hasn't happened.
Well, South Carolina kind of does have a little up-tempo game. And the reason why also, I think, with the women, they are getting bigger. Like you got 6'4", 6'7" women in there. So it's kind of hard to have an up-tempo game to have them up and down the court. So it's actually to your advantage, as you see when you watch the women's basketball, to have that big girl inside, tall, big girl. You can get the ball inside, and if she only has that little 5-foot shot, and their shot's a little softer, the ball's small, just throw it up towards the rim, and the ball will go in.
Yes, I understand that. They have taller players. And for that aspect, I see the advantage of playing slow prison bully ball, basketball. But they also have faster players, too, if they're better athletes. So that would counter it. But
right.
I guess because of the height advantage, they tend to have the better recruits tend to be taller in addition to better athletes. And so that's their advantage to play slow basketball. But maybe that's changing. I saw, some NCAA tournament. I saw a couple of games, and there's one team, they lost the game I saw, but they had like these two super fast guards, and they played up-tempo basketball. And that was difficult for the other team to deal with. They just didn't have the depth to win the game. Mm-hmm. And I think those players are coming into the league.
Yeah, they are. They are. Like I said, I saw some of the future, and they're actually they're around 6'2", 6'3", and they can run up and down the court.
Now, Paige doesn't play the up-tempo game that Caitlin Clark does, but she doesn't play slow basketball either. And Juju Watkins is a phenomenal athlete and fast, and I think she'll bring some more of what Caitlin Clark brings, more up-tempo basketball. So you'll see that. Unfortunately, you won't see her for another 3 years unless they change the rules, unless they change it next players agreement that they have. So we'll see what happens. But I'm still a little confused why they like that, because people weren't watching the WNBA since their second season. People got turned off by them because they didn't like the basketball. I think first they were intrigued by it because it was new, and I think they got turned off by that type of basketball. And then nobody even knew they were playing ugly basketball because not enough people were watching, and they didn't get enough publicity. And then when Caitlin Clark brought all this new eyes and more publicity, people said, "This is ugly basketball. It's prison ball. It's too physical. We don't like it. Please change." And they're very resistant to it. But I think they're going to lose out in the long run, Rob. I think Caitlin Clark and other people are going to bring a change to the league, and I think it's for the better.
It's almost like watching remember when the NBA back in the 60s and 70s was like that. You had your big centers. You had Chamberlain, you had Nate Thurman, and it was just bring the ball down, looking towards the center, and no movement. And they didn't have the 3-point shot back then either. So, I mean, that made it even worse. It was just pounding ground and those. That's what it kind of looks like.
Well, the up-tempo game can open up the 3-point shot. You get an up-tempo game and the defense isn't set yet, they might not all have their person covered, and the 3-point shot can open up as you drive it down. So that also can happen with that. So that's an advantage to that. The other point that was made about this is that the players who are a little bit faster pace and more exciting players, none of them went to UConn or South Carolina. Sabrina Ionescu, Kelsey Plum, Enrique, Caitlin Clark, none of those came from that mold. So that's a good sign. We just need less players coming out of UConn and South Carolina that control it and dominate the league. They got this own little mafia clique thing going on. And we need to break that up because they play boring basketball.
Right.
And we need to break it up because that's how the wrong players end up on the Olympic team.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, that's just like, okay, you're from UConn. Oh yeah, you're on the team.
Yeah. Notice Enrique didn't go to South Carolina or UConn, and she should have been on the team. Notice Caitlin Clark did, and she should have been on the team. Notice that Nanike didn't and wasn't on the Olympic team 4 years ago. So you notice that's a clique going on, and that needs to be broken up. And it will if the style of play goes with players who don't go to those schools. I think that'll help break up the clique because those are the teams I think that could start dominating the league if they're successful with their up-tempo game. I think it's harder, Rob, and I think you need depth. But there's only 12 teams in the league, so you have a better chance of having depth than if you had a 30-team league. So it's possible this could change.
I mean, you can change it. I mean, Paul West had changed that with college basketball, and then when he coached the Lakers, it was get the ball, go. I mean, that's how it was. I mean, when you played against him, Paul Westhead, you're in trouble. You better be in shape because they're going to be running up and down the court.
And they could have more depth if they changed the rule, which requires players to be in training camp on time, or they can't play that season unless it's an Olympic year. If they change that rule, you'll get more players from Europe, which of course you'll get more depth because there's some good players over there that aren't playing the WNBA. So that's another reason to change that rule so they can get more depth, and then they can have more teams playing up-tempo basketball, which is tiring. So you need to have 10 players instead of 7 playing.
Yeah.
So, but I think, that would keep people interested in the league if they can change the style of play and no more bully prison ball, and then have better refs, obviously, to call the game tighter so they don't allow the physical play, which again would open things up and result in being more up-tempo basketball, I think, because they won't be playing.
And better coaching too. Better coaches who have that kind of concept in mind. That would help too.
Well, that's not going to happen with the Fever.
Yeah. That's what let's put that out there.
But yeah, they've got some good coaches in the WNBA. That's obvious. It just doesn't happen to play for Caitlin Clark. But I don't know. Maybe she's learning. She did say last game that she's got to do a better job at holding the lead. So we'll see. Maybe she's open to the fact that maybe she's not doing things right. But she did allow Caitlin Clark to play up-tempo basketball recently. So
yeah.
We'll see. So let us know what you think. Let us know what your theory is. There may be another reason I'm not thinking of, or Rob's not thinking of, as to why they insist on playing this slow plodding prison ball in the WNBA as opposed to up-tempo basketball, which is more exciting and can be very effective. Because the NBA has shown that since the 80s that it can be effective. Now, not all the teams play that, but some of the ones that have won championships have played that.
Right.
So I don't know. I think it's an interesting topic. And Caitlin Clark may change the league for the better in more than one way. And this could be it. So we'll see. Let us know what you think on your theory about all this and whether you would welcome it. I guess you would, because nobody seems to like this slow plotting prison ball. So, make some intelligent, non-insulting comments down below it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? We need 4,000 subscribers, and we're getting close.
Oh, come on.
We're going there for when Rob does this, we get more subscribers. We notice. Hit that notification bell when you do, so you get notified of our next videos. If you like this video, hit the like button. And we'll be live today. Indiana Fever against the Seattle Storm, and that's on ABC at 3:30. Our normal live show is Monday, 6 to 8 Eastern time, except for major holidays. And you can call in for that show. We'll talk about football. Now, the football season's coming around, and we'll also talk about Caitlin Clark, of course, because we'll have the game today. And if you want to donate to this channel, you can with super chats and super thanks below, and also a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.
We'll see. People come up with some theories, Rob. And
yeah, I want